Hey friends, I'm Jamie and I hope you're having a fierce day. Today we're returning to The Sims 4 No CC My Hero Academia UA Dorms build, the Heights Alliance. We'll be making 12 of the dorms with the exception of a few of the more boring ones. I'm still feeling sick and The Sims build by mode is my comfort game, but I promise I'll do something better next week. To make the video more interesting, I'll also be rating the Class 1A characters. These ratings are my pure opinion. I'll be referring to the anime versions, not including things that have happened in the manga, since that counts as spoilers. For the tier list, I'm going from S being the best, A, B, C, D, E, and F being the worst. The first one is Fumikage Tomoyaki. Tomoyaki is probably the coolest character. I think he's super awesome. Anybody with a mutant quirk, meaning that they have a permanent physical altercation to their body, I think has inherently a more complex backstory, and their quirk is somewhat of a curse. People like Bakugo and Todoroki, who still look completely human and are regarded as attractive but still have powerful quirks, I think they're way more lucky and a lot less interesting for having those. They are still interesting characters, but because of this, I think Tokiyami is a super interesting character. He's also extremely powerful. Overall, he's such a cool, calm, collected guy who really cares about his class and is quiet a lot of the time, and his design is super cool as well. Because of this, I'm going to give him A tier. Next is Yuga Ayama. I really like him. Ayama is amazing. I think that he has one of the best personalities. He's super lively and just loves himself. A lot of the other characters lack confidence, and when they do have confidence, they're dicks about it. Ayama has confidence and is also very nice. He's always smiling. He always is cheery. I'm always excited to see him on screen. His quirk is also somewhat of a curse in itself, since his body can't really handle the power. I think he's a super underrated character, so I am going to give him B tier, just because he doesn't get as much screen time as I wish that he would. Mezzo Shoji is one of my favorite characters. I feel like he's what Midoriya should have been in terms of putting others in front of you. He has the same drive to save people and only worries about others, but the camera's never on him. It's never really appreciated the way that it should be. He also has a mutant quirk and has to cover his face because people think that it's scary or disturbing. He's just a weird looking dude, and for him to be so gentle and caring and kind and humble and noble, he's just such an awesome character. I really like him. He's always getting along with others. He's always just a cool guy that wants to be there and help and wants everybody to be okay. I will give him A tier. I just really wish that, like Tokiyami, he had more screen time because he's such a cool character. His personality is a little bit boring though, but I think that his quirk and character design have to make up for it because it's very cool. Next up is Izuku the Shonen, the main character, the protagonist. Of course, everybody has to say that he's S tier. He gets a lot of screen time, but he's a little bit boring. I like that his design is very iconic, and I really do love that he didn't have a quirk. But his personality, he's always very serious. A lot of the times, he's very self-centered, even though as soon as somebody else needs help, he jumps to save them. I don't know, I just feel like he's not very dimensional. I probably wouldn't really be friends with him if I was part of the show because of how boring he is and how I know he's the main character, but everything seems to revolve around him. So I give him B tier. He's still a very cool character. He's nice to everybody, and he tries insanely hard. Mashiro Ojiro, we did not make his room since he is quote normal. It's weird that his entire character design is him being normal. I wish that they gave him more screen time. He's one of the coolest characters in terms of having such a boring, useless quirk. His only quirk is that he has a tail. I mean, Shoji has even more and they have more uses, but Ojiro has made it purely on his own training and willpower. It's almost like a normal person got into the hero program, you know, somebody without a quirk. So I think it's amazing that he's part of it. His hero costume is just a gi, which is also really cool. I hate hate how they do him like that. I hate how they just completely roast him for being such a normal guy. I mean, what's wrong with being normal? I do wish that he was a little bit more interesting, but I like him a lot, but because he's such a normal character that doesn't get any screen time, I will give him a D. I just wish that they gave him more screen time, more backstory, more personality, because he's such a cool character. The same goes for Rikido Sato. He's also a really cool character, but gets so little screen time, probably even less than Ojiro. And the little bit of time that we do get of him, it's just showing him being an idiot. I do love that he had a little bit of personality when they showed his dorm room, but it was just that he was a cook. That's it. They could have gone into it a little bit more, but they didn't. And because he doesn't really have a personality, they don't use him a lot, he doesn't have much screen time, I'm gonna give him an E. I wish that he got more screen time because I think that he could be really cool. Next is Eduro Hiroshima, who is my husbando. He's S tier, of course. He is the best. I feel very strongly about him. His quirk is not that impressive, and they do go over that in his backstory. He's pretty self-conscious about it, but he doesn't even try to be the best hero. He just wants to be a part of the team. He wants to do good in the world. He's very noble. He gets along with everybody. There's nobody that dislikes him. He's one of the few people that actually tames Bakugo. He just is very down with everything. He just seems like the kind of guy that's nice and happy and is always super supportive, and I love him so much for that. He's just so cool. I think that he's one of the best characters in the show. I also love how he isn't afraid to be himself. He really knows what he likes and he goes for it all the way, just like Ayama. I love that he doesn't naturally have red hair. He dyes it to look more special. Overall, I think he's a really complex character. He's just completely good inside and is a solid friend that anyone can lead on. S tier. Ochako Uraka is also one of the main characters. She gets a ton of screen time. I think that she's also a little bit boring. She's very bubbly and a little bit airheaded, always happy. Her purpose for being a hero is to make money so her parents can have it easy. I mean, it's a sweet concept, but I don't always like how characters are forgiven for having sort of corrupt motives if it's for somebody else, if it's for their family. Ultimately, it's still for a fewer amount of people than what it should be. If you're being a hero, you should want to save people. I also think that, I mean, she cries a lot, just like Izuku. She's very emotional, just like Izuku. I mean, she's cute, but I don't really like her as a character. I just don't really get the point of Uraka, other than to be a love interest. So she's gonna get C tier. I'm sorry for the Uraka fans. I know that she's very cute and a nice girl. I just think that she's a little bit boring. Momo Yayorozu? Momo is so OP, she is such a badass, and she's so smart. Everything about her is really, really cool. Of course, you know, she's like very heavily sexualized. I think that since she does turn lipids into materials, she should be a little bit fatter and get thinner to where she currently is after she uses her quirk. I think it's a little bit weird that her body stays the same size before and after using up all of her quirk. But anyway, I think it's very cool that she has this incredible, powerful quirk, but in order to use it, she has to study religiously. I also like how noble she is as well. She looks up to people she thinks is smart. She second guesses herself when she thinks that she isn't the smartest, even though I think that she definitely is. On almost all occasions, she's the smartest person in the room. Overall, she's a really cool character, and I do definitely get excited when I get to see her in action. So I will give her A tier. The last room that we saw that we did not recreate is Tenyaidus. I will probably make this room off camera and upload it to the gallery. Ida's a really fun character. I think he's hilarious. His existence is hilarious. He's very straight-laced, he tries his best, and he's very serious. I also like how he doesn't have a heroic predisposition. As soon as his brother got involved with something, he dropped his motivation to become a hero, and it all became about revenge. Like Ochako, a lot of times people might think that his actions are justified because he's avenging his family, but it's still very selfish. I like how square he is. I like how his personality is so identifiable. His room is so similar to his personality. I just think overall he's a very well constructed character, and I definitely get excited whenever I see him on screen because it's always bound to be funny. So I'll say B tier. Kyoka Jiro is one of my favorite characters. She is the one girl character that isn't unrealistically curvy. She's also not sexualized, and they sort of make jokes out of this, how she's the only female character who doesn't get sexualized on the show. She deals vibrations, amplifying the sounds of her own heartbeat, which is very, very cool. I think her design is cool as well. She's really badass looking. She's always chill with being a backup character. She never needs the spotlight. She doesn't really want the spotlight, and she's very, very humble. I feel like if I was in the show, I would definitely be friends with her. So A tier. The 3 dorms that we didn't get to see are Bakugo's, Asui's, and Minetta's. I'll start with Bakugo. Bakugo has been consistently rated the #1 character on the popularity polls, I think 6 years in a row. Everybody loves Bakugo. I like Bakugo. I like his character design. I like his identity. I like that he doesn't have a tragic backstory the way that it would have been very easy to make one for him. He's an asshole, so naturally I think a lot of writers would go to the shitty childhood story to justify his actions. However, I really can't get over how much of a dick he was in the first season, especially to Izuku. I know that he has changed, and I really do like him, but just the fact that there are so many Bakugo fans who unconditionally love him, his fan club is so huge and so loud. Another thing is that I feel like if I was in the show, I would be terrified of him. They make his anger look comical, but in reality, it would be terrifying to have this giant muscular man just constantly yelling to the point where he's almost foaming in his mouth. Even though it's funny in the show, I think that it would be very, very horrible anytime that he's around. I think that it would give a lot of people anxiety. And he's also very physically abusive. He hits people a lot. I'm gonna give him, I guess, A tier. I mean, he's such a cool character, but he's such a dick, and he told Izuku to kill himself. There really is no excuse for that behavior. He's an asshole. The only reason why I'm not giving him B tier is because his character and story arc are so interesting and iconic, and everything about him, whenever he's on screen, it's always interesting. It's always key to the storyline, and he never changes his behavior. He's always spunky and hot-headed. Mina Ishido, I think her character design is really ridiculously cool. She has this weird looking design, but never once do they call it weird or scary. She's actually one of the cutest characters, I think. A lot of times they describe her as being cute and popular and just a social butterfly, which there could have very easily been an alternate reality where she turned up being very introverted and shy. I think she's just a very cool, fun character. She's always smiling, she's always cheery. She's a little bit one-dimensional though. I will give her C tier. Tura Hagakure. I love how Hagakure is the easiest one to draw. I'm sure that the artist loves whenever there's a scene with Hagakure. I think that her quirk is not powerful, but when dealing with other people, I think it is very useful. As a character, I think she's a little bit boring. She doesn't have much screen time, and she doesn't really have a personality other than being preppy and very girly and loving the camera and the spotlight, which is funny because she's invisible. But I will give her a D tier. Sero is one of my favorite characters as well. I think that he is super underrated. His quirk seems really useless, but if you think about it, he's basically Spider-Man. He's also so humble. He never claims the spotlight, and he never has any drama with anybody. He's just such a chill guy. He's such a bro. He's on par with Kirishima and broness. If I was in the show, I would definitely, probably, if there was one person I'd be friends with, it would be Sero. He's just so chill. I also think that he's the biggest pothead in the whole class. I mean, come on, every time you see him, you can't tell me that he's not high right now. Even his room is definitely the room of somebody who is blazing as soon as the bell rings. I love him a lot, so I will give him A tier. I'm teetering between S and A, but I want to keep S super sacred. Next is Asui. She's S tier. She's my waifu. She's just such a cool character overall. She has no weaknesses. She's so good. She's noble. She always does things. She never argues. She's just a hero, and everything about her is just so cool. I think that she's such a cool character. She also has a mutant quirk, making her hands bigger, and she just looks very frog-like. She just fully embraces it and is comfortable in her own skin and is so reliable. She also speaks her mind freely. I really like it. Overall, Sue's just so cool. She's one of my favorite characters. Her and Hiroshima are definitely all-time favorite characters of Class 1A. They're just awesome. So S tier. Todoroki, I inherently don't really like how popular he is. I think he's very boring personality-wise, and he's very sulky. I know that he had a tough childhood, but so did a lot of other characters. I just think that he's very overrated. It's also canon that he's the most attractive guy in the whole show, possibly. All the girls say that he's the cutest guy in the class. Anytime that he's on screen, he's only really fun to watch when he's fighting. He has such an OP quirk, obviously, because he was designed to. Another reason I think he's a little boring is because he already had his quirk mastered, and he doesn't really have to try to be very powerful. In the beginning, I think he's such a dick. He's so full of himself, and he doesn't care about other people. Later on, he slowly begins to open up, but still, he doesn't seem like he would be very fun. His dorm room is also really lame. He changed the floors and the walls and the door and everything about it to be exactly how he wanted it, which I think is just really lame. I mean, you're going there to learn. Why are you doing this to a dorm room? It's so unnecessary. He's such stupid. I don't know. I know everybody loves Todoroki, and his character design is very cool. His backstory is very cool. He's a complex character. I know that he's OP and everybody loves him, but I don't really like characters who are inherently beautiful and overpowered and talented, and the only thing that makes them interesting is that they had a rough childhood. You know, everybody's had a rough childhood, everybody has a backstory, and people only tend to care about the rough backstories of villains and very powerful, beautiful people. I think that's stupid. Give me a better backstory on Tokoyami, or for God's sake, give one on Shoji. Yeah, I'm gonna give Todoroki B tier. I can't go any lower than that because I'll have an army coming after me, ready to cut off my head. Next is Koda. Koda's so adorable. Again, he has a mutant type quirk, so I inherently like him already. He's so gentle and so precious, and he really cares about his classmates. I think his relationship with his mom, though we briefly saw it, is really sweet, but he doesn't get a lot of screen time. His character's design is very interesting, but he is somewhat of a boring character, so I will go C tier. The last dorm room that we're going to cover is Dinky Kaminari. He's a very well-loved character as well. I think that he's awesome how stupid he gets when he uses his power. I love that he looks completely stupid and can only make fun noises and put his thumbs up. He's just a very funny character overall. I don't like how flirty he is and kind of how pervy he is. Him and Mineta are both pervs. Obviously Kaminari's way better, but I think people let him off easier because he's handsome, and that's kind of dumb. I mean, they do give him a few moments where they show that he wants to be able to hone his powers so he doesn't hurt his friends, but he's just kind of boring overall as well. So I'm gonna give him D tier. I know that people are gonna be upset over that, but I'm sorry. Finally, Mineta. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on him just because he's disgusting. I think as a character, he does provide a lot of comedy. The one thing that I do like about him is how, even though he's small and horrible and terrified and scared and a little bitch, he still manages to do really well in the tests. He does things not traditionally accepted as correct methods of winning, but he gets it done, and so I like that aspect of him, but he's just so perverted and disgusting, and anytime he opens his mouth, I just want to punch him in the face, so he's F tier. So that is all the rooms. All of these rooms will be available in the gallery, posted by jamieisfierce with the jamieisfierce hashtag. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!